The defense will go as Max Melton goes in 2024. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner _. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen. Free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Been in sports radio in Phoenix since 2011. Hosting this lovely podcast since 2017, going on my 8th season, man. Wild. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you, everydayers. Thank you if this is your first listen. Maybe make tomorrow your second listen. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Go there to get started. I'm going to wrap up my X Factors mini series today with the rookies on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to make or break 2024 in their rookie scope. Okay. Dadrion Taylor-Demerson. I'm going to wrap up the show with him. Under the tutelage of Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson, he's X Factor number 3 for various reasons. Darius Robinson, rookie. Late first-round pick, a putrid pass rush in 2023. Can he expound upon it? X Factor number 2, next segment. But I'm starting today with Max Melton. Max Melton had a very interesting introduction to the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals traded back, watched all of the quote-unquote top corners go from all the mock drafts, Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Kamari Lassiter, and then Max Melton was there at Rutgers for the Arizona Cardinals after the trade back. And it's one of the more interesting situations during that draft where it's like Cooper DeJean was looked as the guy. Everybody said he was going to go 25 to Green Bay, and he drops all the way to, the middle top of the second round. It's like, why didn't the Cardinals just take him and not trade back? They picked up an extra pick, traded back, drafted Max Melton. Now, Max Melton has an incredible skill set. Okay, he went up against Marvin Harrison Jr. in college, so they know each other. That's going to be the quote-unquote iron sharpening iron during practice. But Max Melton, the reason why he's the biggest X factor is the Cardinals haven't had a bona fide cornerback 1 playing at a cornerback 1 level since Patrick Peterson in 2015, 2016, 8 years ago. The Cardinals' cornerback room was not good last year. Now, I looked at the numbers. They only gave up 212 yards per game on average, which is excellent. So Max Melton, combined with Sean Murphy-Bunting and Elijah Jones, the level of talent, and obviously Garrett Williams, the third-round pick from last year at Syracuse, the talent is elevated, okay? But there's a couple reasons why the X factor-ness of Max Melton is so potent. Because the Cardinals' defense needs to get better now. The Cardinals' defense needs to get better now. They were last in the league at just over 140 yards rushing given up per game, which puts them at about 355 total yards a game, which was 25th last year. Max Melton, his skill set is as such where he's great against the run. He loves to hit people. He's good in coverage. The biggest knock against him is he stares at the quarterback too much. That can be taught. That's reps in the NFL. You've got Sean Murphy-Bunting there to mentor. You've got Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson to mentor. And then Nick Rallis and Jonathan Gannon are going to put these guys in a position to succeed. Max Melton, as an X factor, is the biggest one on the defensive side of the ball for 2024 because if it takes him a year to acclimate, which, listen, playing cornerback is probably the toughest position in football outside of quarterback. Especially with all the wide receivers now, it's even harder than it was before. So if it takes him a year, which would make sense as a rookie, you really come in and you come into your own in your second year. If it takes him that time, and it takes Elijah Jones that time, this defense is not going to get better significantly from 2023 to 2024. And I group him in with rush defense because he's so great in open field tackling, not letting runners get past the second level. Like, that is massive for the Cardinals. The Cardinals, I don't remember the last corner that the Cardinals had that absolutely liked to drill people. And every single corner the Cardinals drafted loves to do that. But on the other side, if he comes in and he plays as well as Garrett Williams did when he was healthy last year, the Cardinals defense could get good and scary very quickly. I'm not saying week 3 of next season. I'm saying, but by 2024, if he plays well throughout the 2023 season, first of all, they're going to be in a lot more games, obviously. It's going to put less pressure on the offense. It's going to make Nick Rallis' defense tick. And this is completely removed from the pass rush's performance. I'm talking specifically about him. If you can look at Max Melton, week 5, week 6, depending on scheme, if they're going to play man or zone, like listen, you're going to line up alongside the wide receiver, one of the other team. That is absolutely, without a doubt, the most important storyline on the defensive side of the ball for 2024. Can this cornerback room level up? Can this rookie, like, remember Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints? His rookie year, he's going to be good. He's kind of regressed a little bit. The Saints are weird with all the money they pay people, but right away you're like, oh boy, this dude's a baller. Jalen Ramsey was kind of like that in Jacksonville. I think he went 5 overall, so it was more expected from him, but he was ready to rock. I'm not saying it needs to be that. I'm saying it needs to be 10 times better than anything we've seen, more than Byron Murphy, more than Antonio Hamilton. Like, it's just, the mantelpiece is there. Mantelpiece? The platter. No. The opportunity is there for him to absolutely take that CB1 role and run with it. And let me tell you what. Whose job is easier if the Cardinals do truly have a cornerback 1 in 2024? Or one that has that, that future pacing. Still talking about this with rookies. It's always, trajectory based. It's like, okay, he's not a Pro Bowler in year 1. That's okay. He's going to play in the league for probably a decade. But if you see the rumblings of that in 2024, everything changes. Everybody's job is easier. The Cardinals and Cardinals fans like you and people in the media like me, we've just written off having top-tier cornerback talent. Just think about that for a second. It's like, the defense fine up. They just need some corners. The defense up. Yep. They just need some corners. It's been like that for 8 years. Like, isn't that Looney Tunes? Max Melton has the opportunity to bring the Cardinals into the 21st century really quickly, so to speak, if he comes out and balls out right away. If he can come out and play meaningful snaps, and by the end of the year have opposing teams need to scheme around him, especially for a second-round pick they traded back for, that would make Monty Austinfort look like an absolute genius. Howie Roseman, you want to take all the players that everybody was saying, in the draft, you're the darling? That's great. I've done my homework. I'll pick up an extra third. I'll trade back a handful of spots, and I'll draft the guy I wanted at the original spot anyways. Now, Monty Austinfort probably didn't know that all of those picks and all of those players were going to be taken first, but who cares? The bottom line is, the biggest rookie X factor on the defensive side of the ball for the Arizona Cardinals in 2024 is Max Melton. If it takes him a while to get used to the NFL game, the Cardinals are going to struggle. If he comes in and he's ready to rock right away, and you can see, oh baby, like you see it with your eyes, like it's going to be immediate. It's like, oh yeah, game's not too fast for him. He's probably, he's got wide receivers. He's not going to be a lockdown corner from day one, but if he's right there on the precipice of something like that, we start to see it really happen towards the end of 2024, oh, baby doll, they're going to be in good shape. Now, if it doesn't happen, they're going to struggle. And that's why he's the biggest X factor for 2024. Darius Robinson, less pressure, even though he was a first-round pick, but also can make a great impact, just like Max Melton, in various ways, including just getting into the kitchen of opposing quarterbacks with a lot more frequency than we saw in 2023. That's next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more, and you can bet it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. Like, who would you say right now is the Finals MVP? Jalen Brown? I would say Drew Holiday. They're both towards the top. I mean, Jason Tatum's on the outside looking in. He shot terribly from 2 and 3. Drew Holiday is absolutely leading that team. If you think Drew Holiday is going to be the guy, go to FanDuel. If you think Jalen Brown's going to be the guy, go to FanDuel. If you don't think either of the guys are going to be the guy to win Finals MVP, you guessed it. Go to FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and log a win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Hi. This is fun. Down to 3 episodes for all of June. I'm kind of choosing which days are best. I know Friday is going to be best. I think I'm debating between Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'm doing this on Tuesday, obviously. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, something like that. Leave in the comments what you think, when you want the content to be. I feel like Monday can be a punt. I don't know if you want them grouped together, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever it may be. I'm going to kind of toy with it for the month. But yeah, I'm here for you, and then we'll be, I believe, full swing back in July. Max Melton, the most important defensive rookie in 2024. The second most important defensive rookie is Darius Robinson. Now, why didn't you put him first? He was a first-round pick. Why didn't you put him first? A couple different reasons. First, the Cardinals' pass rush was so bad last year that one rookie most likely will not salvage it. Okay? What Darius Robinson can bring as an X factor is look alongside to the other side of the line, BJ Ojulari, and be like, this is us for the next 5 years. We are going to lead this pass rush. He's got flexibility to move inside if Bilal Powell's and Bilal Powell. Jeez. Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones aren't cutting it. He can play on the outside depending on scheme. The X factor for him isn't as – it's not as directly correlated to wins as Max Melton. But if you see – I mean, listen, if he hits double-digit sacks, this Cardinals team is going to definitely – I mean, they're going to win more games than they lose. The Cardinals pass rush, I don't think the stat was they didn't have a sack for the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks of last season. They didn't have a sack. So the bar is so low that it's going to be better this year. You know, they drafted Xavier Thomas out of Clemson, where if he could stay healthy, that could be a steal of the draft. Because the only red flag for him was injuries. You look at Zaven Collins, see what they can do with him this year, see what they're going to do with Mac Wilson and Kazir White regarding blitz packages, see what happens with the corners, what they're going to do. If there's going to be more cornerback blitzes this year, more Vance Joseph-style blitzes where they bring the house. But what you want from Darius Robinson from day one is consistency. You don't want him with zeros across the stat line. And while sacks are great, the amount of quarterback pressures a young player can get, that's the real litmus test. Sure, you want to get home. You want to get all the way home. Absolutely. But quarterback pressures could turn into other teammates getting sacks could turn into third and shorts getting blown up and having a quarterback having to throw the ball away. Obviously, turnovers, especially with the ball hawking nature that the secondary is going to have this year for more than we've seen in a long time. For Darius Robinson to be a positive X factor for the Cardinals, it's got to be consistency. You're not looking for J.J. Watt numbers right out the gate, okay? You're not looking for Myles Garrett numbers right out the gate. Please, I really suggest that people, and you're allowed to think however you want. I suggest that people remove he was a first-round pick away from expectations for 2023. I believe that if the Cardinals thought they could get him at 35, they would have waited. But I don't think they could have, and I think that they saw a guy who's going to fit the scheme, fit the culture. Remember, with his NIL money, part of it, he started a charity for kids. He's not buying Lamborghinis. He's not, being all flashy. He started a charity to buy backpacks for kids who couldn't afford them. So not only would the Cardinals not have gotten him in the second round, it's a fit play. It doesn't matter. It's just like in fantasy football. It's like, okay, well, I'm picking second, and I'm on the turn for the third round. It's like the player I want, who's probably a fourth round value or fifth round value, is not going to be there on the way back. So I want to take him, so I'm going to take him. So like that's kind of the thought process with Darius Robinson. So don't look at it and be like, oh, he only had 2 sacks and it's week 8. That's a bust first round pick. You can't think like that, especially with how bad the pass rush was last year. Now, the downside, the X factor negative, the X factor other side of the coin is if he's lost right away, you're going to know. And it's going to have a ripple effect like, well, maybe they missed. And it's not like, I know that I just said, well, if he only has 2 sacks in week 8, it's like he's a bust. That Zayvon Collins looked lost right away. And I know he was playing a different position coming out of Tulsa, playing inside. He wasn't on the line. Okay. Isaiah Simmons looked lost right away. There was no like, oh, baby, this is going to be good. No, there was none of that. There was no peak to either of those players. And the Cardinals haven't drafted a pass rusher high in the draft in a while. So just like cornerback, it's an acclimation process for fans and media members too. It's like, how do you gauge a young pass rusher? So the only thing that you don't want to see, which would be a not so great side X factor, is he looks lost right away and he's not getting better. I don't think it's going to happen. Smart dude, plays hard, and I know that these are cliches, but it's like, who cares? This is going to be a Nick Rallis scheme that will lend favorably to him. And I believe, especially, if they can get the blitz packages in place, and if they, without the blitz packages, can blow up the pocket from the interior, which is something they massively struggled with, Darius Robinson could have a very, very solid 2024. I don't think you're ever going to see 15 sacks from this guy, and you don't have to. Remember the knock on Chandler Jones was, oh, wow, great. He had, 16 sacks this season. Where was he when he wasn't sacking the quarterback? Not as effective. So when you look at quarterback pressures and quarterback hurries, that's where you can really tell the growth and maturity of a young pass rusher. And we'll see if it happens right away. If it happens right away, like if the Cardinals defense with these young players produce right away, the Cardinals can make the playoffs. Like they're not that far away, but that 0-1 jump is massive. Luckily, they're in the NFC, which is a weaker division. It's a less deep conference, a shallower conference. I hate that. You can't use the AFC is a deep conference with teams who can make the playoffs. The NFC is a shallow conference. No, help me out. I know what the opposite of deep is, but I can't use it in that anyways. Squirrel. The Cardinals can 100% make the playoffs if the defense takes that massive jump. And the beauty of this year, unlike years past, years past, the Cardinals have the veteran leadership and talent in place to be able coddle's not the right word, but to be able to shorten the learning curve for these young guys and they're not just thrown out on an island. And I always use Marco Wilson as an example. He was set up to fail. Byron Murphy set up to fail. One was because Patrick Peterson cheated, but then they didn't have. He's not a CB1. But when you look at the team now, you've got Zaven Collins, who, maybe he's beloved in the locker room. He's a good leader. He's just not. He hasn't been very good on the field. Bilal Nichols and Justin Jefferson. What am I doing here? Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones, veterans, will help Darius Robinson. BJ Ojolari's second year, can teach him what he saw the year before. And then Sean Murphy, Bunting, Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson for Max Melton that I talked about in segment 1. These rookies are in a situation to succeed. And if they do it, the Cardinals are going to be scary in 2024. They won't have to wait until 2025. That's why they are such X factors as pertaining to the performance of the Arizona Cardinals next season. The final X factor, Dadrion Taylor-Demerson, Rabbit, maybe in the best situation of all the rookies. I'll explain why. Next, Locked On Cardinals, your team, yours, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Bird Gang Travel Club. My boy Tyler over there does a fantastic job. Birdgang.com. These guys make it so easy for you to travel to see the Cardinals play, but that's just the beginning of it. Maybe you want to go see Marv catch a touchdown from Kyler Murray in South Beach. You could be there. They help you out. James Conner doing the Lambeau Leap in Green Bay. You could be there. Trey McBride making big play after big play in week 1 in Buffalo before it gets cold. You could be there with Bird Gang Travel Club. They provide the best and only fan experience for Cardinals, road games. They take, listen to this, between 50 and 500 fans on a given trip. I mean, it blows the roof off experience-wise. This season, they're hitting Buffalo in week 1, Green Bay in week 6, and Miami in week 8. Hell of a slate. The packages include top-notch hotel stays for 3 or 4 nights, lower-level game tickets, currently row 5 or better in Buffalo, which is bonkers. Parties every night with open bar and appetizers, unique fan tours of Lambeau Field and Niagara Falls, souvenir trip patch, State 48 trip shirt, and more. Visit birdgang.com to see all the packages today. And they've got payment plans. Payment plans are available. You got to act fast, though. Sign up by June 23rd and receive a signed Paris Johnson Jr. mini helmet for anyone in your package. Use the code LOCKEDON to receive a bonus signed mystery mini helmet or football from a current Cardinals player or alumni while supplies last. Birdgang.com, Bird Gang Travel Club, best in the business. Check them out. Wrapping up the X Factor mini series, kind of spaced it out a little bit. There's stories to talk about. I did a show about Kyler Murray on Friday of last week. I don't talk about Kyler Murray enough, which is wild. There have been so many stories that have been more compelling, which is nuts. But now we're wrapping this up. Max Melton, number 1 X factor on the defensive side of the ball as pertaining to the rookies. He can sway this defense solely, taking that leap forward or kind of staying where they are. Darius Robinson, same, but in kind of a lesser degree because the pass rush was so bad last year. It was so bad. And you can mask a bad pass rush. Now, pertaining to run stopping, that's a completely different story. And we'll discuss that at a later date. We've got a long time until the season starts. And then the final X factor, Dadrion Taylor-Demerson, Rabbit. He was drafted to be the heir apparent to Budda Baker. Now, say what you want about Budda Baker. Oh, they got to move off from this year. I think that's insane. I think it's insane. You can play Budda Baker in different positions than just free safety. He's shown that he can play various positions and have various roles. So even unless Dadrion Taylor-Demerson comes out and he's an all-pro this year, you can move off from Budda Baker. It's just like Trey Benson. It's like just because they got drafted doesn't mean that they're going to take the position of Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson and James Conner next season. It doesn't mean that. It would have to be an immaculate year by both of those guys for that to happen. And if it happens, we can have that conversation later. The reason why he's an X factor, and what I teased before coming into this segment, he's got the best case scenario. Imagine learning from Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson. Guys have been through it, who have been absolutely through it with the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, they've seen good, they've seen really bad, and it's something that Budda Baker's consistency when healthy, regardless of win-loss, he's been the metronome of the defense. And to have Budda Baker alongside you, he's not a guy who's going to Brett Favre you. He's not a guy who's going to be like, sorry, Rook, I'm not going to help you. He's going to help. He's going to do it with a smile. And the beauty of Rabbit's position with this team is he's got no real expectations on him for 2024, which can be terrifying for opposing teams. He's not going to be a guy that's expected to produce at a high level right away because Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson are there. Now, Budda Baker gets hurt, misses some time. He's thrust into action, different conversation. This is all, in a vacuum, hoping that nobody gets injured. Because, if you hope anybody gets injured, whether it be your favorite player or the player you loathe the most, you got nothing for you. The X factor version for Rabbit is he can provide texture and depth over the top that would benefit the team more than Jace Whitaker. If you have depth in the safety room, it covers up maybe a not so great pass rush, maybe a not so great interior defensive line, if those things were to be true. And his job right out the gate will be easier than what Budda Baker has experienced over the last 3 or 4 years because they've got a cornerback room of guys that want to hit people that are ready to rock. Now, listen, just like with all rookies, this is the best case scenario. If it takes them a little bit longer, if it takes them 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, a year to really acclimate themselves into the NFL game, we're going to be looking at 2025. But like no time over the last decade, rookies are in a position to succeed because of the veterans that are around them and the types of veterans at key positions that are around. This is truly a team that's cohesive, that has the right culture and leaders, and not above all else, coupled with that, an offense that's ready to absolutely explode. So their job will more than likely be easier, and they have more talent. So you put those two things together. I know it's in a vacuum. If you put those two things together, coupled with an offense that's ready to explode, coupled with the right head coach, the right coordinators, the Cardinals could be on the precipice of surprising the entire NFL now in 2024. And that is incredibly exciting and kind of surprising. If it doesn't happen, it's still par for the course. This is part of the process of rebuilding from shambles. But if things bounce the Cardinals' way with these X factors on the defensive side of the ball in 2024, we could be talking playoffs a lot sooner than anybody ever thought. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. We'll talk to you tomorrow.